Call to order at 6:03 p.m. Any public participation?
Nope.
Seeing none. And I should say, I'm calling to order the Board of Health Regulation Ordinance Promotion and Planning Committee public meeting. First up, approval of minutes from November 17th to start in September 6th. Well, these are going back a ways. November 17th, 2021 meetings.
I move that we approve the minutes from November 17th, 2021.
I'll second.
All three in favor? Aye. Also aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that satisfactory, I would think?
I think so, yeah.
Fantastic. That was for November 17th, correct?
Sure.
How about for September 6th, 2022?
I move that we approve the September 6th, 2022 committee minutes.
I'll second.
I will also vote yes. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on to new and unfinished business, the MCDH Organizational Strategic Plan 2023 to 2026 review.
Thank you.
Is that you?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. So this is the final draft of the organizational strategic plan. We had started getting together as an entire staff, and when I say that, that would be directors, managers, supervisors, coordinators, all got together. There were about 18 of us in a series of meetings, and what we did was we took all of the plans that we have had, the strategic roadmap, ISC report, the SWOT analysis, the organizational capacity assessment, competency assessments that we did, the county strategic plan, and FAB accreditation, and kind of laid all that out into the enduring themes. And when we all got together, we went through, prioritized those themes as to what we thought would be the most important to get completed first. And from that, we came up with three themes: enhance internal operations and infrastructure, ensure a sustainable, skilled, and competent workforce, and cultivate public health 3.0. From that, we were able to go through and prioritize each one, set our goals, objectives, our measures, and what key staff would be assigned, and assign a timeline as well. So some of these timelines, we are not giving specific dates, just by the end of 2025, by the end of 2026, what we are going to be doing as far as those tasks, the key staff. At the very top of this portion of the report, where it lists out the priorities, we do have a legend of key staff assigned. So where you see abbreviation, Director of Planning and Operations, the QI team. So that kind of lays it out and defines it for you if you're wondering who that key staff is. Basically, I sent Cindy, a Board of Health, just a draft of a letter just to work on that with her that will be included in this on behalf of the Board of Health presenting it. The executive summary lays out how we got through all of the data and how we kind of moved through. We included the mission, vision, and values with the value statements, kind of, determined. There were several that are also McHenry County value statements and how that all ties in. So if we want to begin, I don't know if everybody had a chance to review it and has any questions about the first portion or the executive summary.
Or anything you want to have questions on?
Okay. So goal 1, formalize a performance management infrastructure system. So create a performance management framework for mandated programs and services by 2026. And the measures define performance indicators and establish benchmarks. So I think in kind of reviewing that, we want to make sure that we have performance measurements. Some things we didn't, so we have to create benchmarks during this first, round of this. And each one, inventory mandated programs, identify performance measures in each program area, and establish evidence-based benchmarks. So all of the key staff would be division directors, excuse me, MS is management staff. We're going to have staff, and a lot of these are going to lead to us having group sessions and committees that are going to be working on this. So so that we're all working together, all the divisions are working on the same goal and objectives and tasks. Objective 2, adopt a quality improvement plan by 2025, measure, formalize a written plan. So first, establish a QI team that will be Director of Planning and Operations, as well as the Staff Development Director. Review a QI plan outline, and that is going to be a team. Again, this will be a team of staff that will be sitting on this committee, and we're going to decide how this will be structured and how to move forward with that. Task C, assess gaps and needs, and develop a revised plan. Any questions on that? Look like we have a question.
Just on the QI team, it's your first task to establish one, idea of size and complement of personnel you're choosing for that?
We don't really, I mean, this is kind of very high level look. We don't want it too big that we're not going to get anything done, but we want representation from all staff and all divisions and all levels. So-
And I'll say also, just as we go through this, and I don't know if you want us to go, line by line,
I
it's up
know.
to you, but there are some assumptions that we're making, so we didn't get overly detailed. For example, like, we'll be sending people to training, right? We're not assuming that people have the skill set, but we decided, we made a choice together to go, we're not going to put that kind of detail in. We're going to make sure that that's an assumption, and people are going to have the skills and the training that they need to accomplish the task.
Sure. Yeah, I had looked through there briefly for some description of them, but I'm assuming you have something in mind for
Mhm.
how big. That's great. That's fine. High level's fine. Just curious.
Okay, then we have 1.3, implement quality improvement projects by 2026, and the measure number of completed projects. Task A, identify one project within each division, and division directors will do that. Implement a QI project, and then that's it there. So hopefully we will have one from each division completed. Priority 2, ensure a sustainable, skilled, and competent workforce. Strategy, maintain a trained and competent workforce. Goal 1, assure work environment and culture that aligns with the mission, vision, and values. So objective 1.1, evaluate employee job satisfaction by 2023. The measure, identify baseline and establish benchmarks. Task A is research, establish measures and tools. So we want to make sure that if we're going out there to evaluate, that these are best management practices and established tools. Task B, formalize data collection processes, stay interviews, surveys, exit interviews. Task C, select job satisfaction measures, culture, pay, benefits, etc. And D, obtain a baseline and identify gaps and needs. Objective 1.2, create employee-driven improvements to address identified gaps and needs by 2024. The measure will be job satisfaction. Task A, establish employee team to make recommendations for programming, review staff recommendations and prioritize, implement based on resources and authority, and C, evaluate success of programming. Objective 1.3, formalize employee recognition program by 2024. Measure is the adoption of a plan. Task A, establish employee committee. Evaluate, task B, evaluate how staff wants to be recognized and rewarded. C, incorporate recommendations into the plan. And D, assure sustainable funding so that we can continue that. Goal 2, formalize workforce planning and development. Objective 2.1, create workforce development plan by 2025, and the measure is an adoption of a plan. Task A, assess public health competencies. Task B, set program competency targets by position. C, identify development gaps and needs. D, write and adopt a plan to address the gaps and needs. Objective 2.2, create standard operating procedures for each program by 2024. The measure is written SOPs. Task A, develop standardized test template and process. B, identify existing procedures for mandated and essential services. C, complete SOP for each program and service by position. The reason, if you're wondering why we're doing this, is we needed to formalize the processes. When we have such gaps or when we're not able to hire as quickly as we need to know that someone can step in and at least do the basics and keep things going. So this is something we discussed, in depth, and that this was a big, important issue that we needed to kind of address so that people could just step in and lead it.
So personally, I don't want you to feel that you have to read every
Okay.
line, unless someone else
Has anything to
wants
say?
that. Do you have larger things you want to draw attention to? I was just reading through, all of it to me looks like there's a lot of diligent effort put into this.
Oh,
Is
yes.
there anything that stands out to you in particular?
Well, our biggest section is really working on, biggest, where we put a lot of the emphasis was on the workforce,
Yes.
right? We have to make sure recruitment, retention, recognition. So I think we're trying to make a real diligent effort about getting staff input, right? Getting the culture to where we want it, and getting employee feedback, having them help us instead of us assuming what somebody wants or how people want to be recognized, we need staff input. We need to put these processes in place so that, ideally they're enduring and we, build trust and get more good communication back and forth so that, we just establish this routine of, hey, this is how we do business around here. This is how we're going to exchange ideas and continue moving forward. I think something that's not in here and not outlined that we would need your input on is how do you want us to report back to you? How often, right? So that's where you're going to start to see the details of, okay, we trained people, so we can do it, I guess not too frequently, like we wouldn't want to do it monthly, but I don't know if it's like quarterly or biannually, at the frequency where you feel like you're getting the information and the feedback so that you can see that we are making progress along the way.
I guess I would, in my perspective, just what you designate as milestones and just report them as they come in, maybe. I don't know if you've done this or intending to do it, but you guys have put a lot of work, everybody has put a lot of work into this from the directors. And it would be nice, I think, to close the loop and just send out a survey to everybody that participated in it to see how the process went for them and what could be, this is not a negative thing, but just what going forward would they like to see more of or something like that, just so that you've still got the buy-in from everybody after this is done, Does that make sense?
That's a good idea. And we did talk about today, putting this on our all-staff agenda in September, so maybe we could send out a survey in advance of that and then share.
It could
the
be like just like
results.
5 or
Yeah, it doesn't have to
3
be
or
big
4
questions, yeah.
just,
Yeah, I like that idea. Keep it in the forefront of the mind that this is something that's serious. I'm very interested in feedback, both from staff but also from management here about how this process goes, because what I don't want this to be is we spend a lot of time talking about this.
Oh, we don't do it.
Coming up with, and then nothing actionable happens. Because I think that happens to some organizations. I'm not saying that's going to happen here. But going back, thinking about like when we did the surveys with staff before, I had concern, I think I was shared by others, that maybe not as many people were involved in the process as we would have liked, right? I would have liked it 100%, but I want them to know that this is real. And if something comes out, for example, if we said, how do you want to be recognized? And only 2 people in a division say, oh, I want a pizza party or something like that. And then that's what we do, we throw a pizza party or something, I'm just picking something. And then everyone's like, well, this is the silliest thing ever. A pizza party for recognition, that's like, you had the opportunity to say. I want them to know that if we keep putting that in front of them like this, a survey, hey, we just got done with this. What did you think? So they still have an ongoing opportunity to be involved.
Also,
Close the gate.
this plan is going to be a tool to get funding. So it'd be not unusual to come up with a budget for this plan.
Well, I will say, so we do now have, we have a grant and some other funding that we know is coming that's going to support doing some of this work. So that'll help get us started. One of those grants is a 5-year grant. So we will be able to initiate many of these things using some of those dollars, potentially consulting or contracting for some of the work, right? To get those big plans and things in place so that we have them. But obviously, over time, we have to transition that. We still have to do the work. We still have to internally establish those benchmarks, right? Somebody can't do that for us. So at the division level, the directors, the managers, and then we do want this to go all the way down to staff, but they may not be involved at every level, right? Trying to, we certainly want their input, but they might not be the ones that are helping to identify the, how are we going to measure? Are we doing what we think we're doing? Are we being effective at that? So I don't know if I fully answered your question about budgeting, but obviously, yes, we have to have money in order to do these things.
Right.
We do have the recognition line, so we have some things already baked in that we can work with. The community health improvement plan, so we're also using some of the ARPA dollars, or proposing to use some of the ARPA dollars to cover like the third priority, which is that public health 3.0, delivering on our community health improvement plans.
And maybe, and I'm just throwing this out there, you just put another column and put funding wherever it's coming from.
So priority 2 is gonna be at least, we have 10,000 from
Yeah, but we have all these training dollars coming in through a
Grants.
new grant. Yeah, it's a 5-year grant from the state. It's to support operations, administration, things like this, workforce, training. Yep.
Great.
Yeah, so I think that's important, right? Because to put a plan together and then we don't have any funding to actually do those things is not. So I think what we have selected, we know we already have some funding to get behind.
Kyle, I have you on 3 committees. I'm sorry, jump on, you're like the chairperson of 3 committees.
I'm here to serve.
Okay, all right, I didn't realize that, we were just looking at it, I'm like, finance committee, okay.
A comment I want to make. This, tonight is supposed to be reviewing what staff has created, and we either give a thumbs up or a thumbs down on it. It's not really a time for us as board members to say, well, you need to change this, you need to modify this. If we do that, then we can't approve this tonight. It's got to go back to staff for them to do, and they got to bring it back to us at a later date. They've worked on this a long time. I mean, I think of at least 2 years. And so tonight's the night to either move it to the full board for adoption or send it back to staff.
Well, they can add an
So-
appendix if they want, just
So
to,
when you start offering suggestions for changing it, then that complicates it. That's the point I'm trying to make.
well, I think, okay, to your point, and I agree, Ann's got a letter that she's got a draft, a cover letter to go with it, and maybe they can include those items in the cover letter, the funding's coming from here, and here, and here, and here,
Okay.
you know. Because I think when everyone else is gonna look at it, it's a lot of work, but if it ever goes to county. and-
Well, the funding pieces are all going to go to
Yeah,
county.
so
Yeah.
it's important that they know. I mean, it can be done in letter form, it doesn't have to be, the presentation is, I agree with you, it's totally fine the way it is, so we don't need to change that. It's a good point.
On funding and timelines, just a question here. Some of these go out to 2026, how long are the ARPA dollars good for?
Through 2026.
Oh, that's, okay.
It's-
Um,
But between now and then, right, we will have to do another one of these and start planning, right, for the next cycle.
Right, which will be 2026 to,
Or 27, but we'll probably have to do the work in 26, so there's a plan in place for 27. And whether or not that's a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan, we can determine that at that time.
you both had an opportunity to review this document. Any further questions? Looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we, as a committee, approve the McHenry County Department of Health organizational strategic plan for the years 2023 through 2026 and forward it to the full Board of Health for their consideration.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Fantastic. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Next up, executive session.
Yeah, there's one set of minutes that,
Review.
yep.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That was very quick, and I'll get with you on that one.
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, Darlene, sneak
Pardon?
out of a voice vote or a roll call vote.
Oh,
Are we
yes.
still-
only three
are we
of us.
still- Are we
Okay.
still online?
No, we're done.
Okay.
Okay.
Wrong
But we'll have to come back in.
Yeah, it's on the executive session right now.
Yeah. Joe, remind me, do we need to adjourn?
Yeah, when we
Get a
come back.
motion to move the executive session.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Do we have a motion?
I do.
All right,
I'll second.
all right. Aye.
Wait, I already put it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fantastic. We have returned to open session from executive session.
I make a motion that we approve this executive session minutes from the September 6, 2022 session.
This was a release of the executive session
Right.
minutes.
Approve.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned
You're
at
faster than me now.
6:29. Well, I have lots of help.
Sure.